Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for attending our kickoff meeting for the Rhode Island Climate Resilience Learning Network. We're very excited that we have a great turnout, and for those of us who can't be here today, again, the meeting will be recorded, and so we will share this after. So this is an exciting project that has had a lot of help. I wanted to introduce Sea Grant Rhode Island, who has assisted with this, as well as the Coastal Resources Center, which is out of URI, as well as Narragansett Bay Research Reserve. My name is Thais Fournier. I'm a Coastal Resilience Extension Specialist out of Coastal Resources Center. And as you see, I have team members also that we'll have a chance to further introduce ourselves as we continue on. But with the interest of time, I just wanted to give a quick introduction and a quick shout out. So thank you. So objectives for today, as you can tell from the title, this learning network, we wanted to talk about our shared understanding of what this network will be and the audience of who we're trying to engage with. We're going to meet our new State Chief Resilience Officer today and have a bit of a little question and answer with her, and hopefully provide some opportunity, depending on time, for all of you to drop some questions in the chat that you may have for her. We also want to identify our participants' needs and interests around engaging with this network, and then review some upcoming opportunities and discuss next steps. So again, a very full agenda. We want to keep it to an hour, but if anyone has any questions afterwards, I'll provide my email. You should have seen some emails going back and forth, but you can shoot me some questions and we'll try our best to follow up with you. So I wanted to put this graph up here to kind of highlight, the reason for this learning network, as well as just showcasing the Rhode Island municipal needs. So we assess these needs by looking at the Municipal Resilience Program reports to identify some of our communities, what their greatest needs were. And so the purpose of our Rhode Island Climate Resilience Learning Network was to provide participants to engage with and help shape this initiative, because one of our largest needs, what you can see here, is that the need for collaboration and funding. So we are hoping, and we will do this with our learning network, is to really connect all of our communities across Rhode Island, whether that be inland or coastal, and kind of help them engage with each other to streamline efforts, because we're all obviously experiencing climate change, and we really need to connect with each other and work together. So just even looking at this really helped us inform, and gave us more impetus for forming this learning network. So essentially, what is the Rhode Island Climate Resilience Learning Network? It's in its name. It is a learning network, but we wanted to foster peer-to-peer learning, information exchange, as well as collaborative engagement to help advance climate resilience, science, knowledge, and solutions. So we are really excited to have this kickoff meeting to help launch this and really connect all of us. We are a small state, and even though we're small, we are mighty, and together we can do big things. We wanted to just give you a little visual for kind of what does this learning net framework look like. So our idea with this was to have, maybe we have forums from time to time, study groups that may be smaller, and Pam, my colleague, will go into a little more detail about what these all look like. But we also want opportunities to provide technical assistance to communities, whether that be on stormwater or whatever needs that individuals are wanting. So we are looking to you all too, as participants, to help inform what you want to get out of this group. So we will discuss that a little bit later on and get more feedback from you. But we had a foundational group that helped inform this framework of this learning network. And so a big shout out to some of our members. I won't read them all out, but they have guided us and informed us on what they were experiencing for needs to help kind of shape this before we did a larger launch. So they spent ample amount of time in meetings with us, and we really provided some great feedback and great conversation. So thank you all who participated in the foundational group. And we're looking forward to sharing this learning network with you and getting more feedback from the larger audience. So I briefly touched on this earlier about the framework. So our learning network engagement opportunities will include either larger learning sessions, whether that is a quarterly virtual session, so we could have someone be presenting, like I said, on stormwater, or any other topic that may be of interest, again, depending on the audience's desires or needs, as well as study groups. And that can be we plan to have smaller group sessions, and maybe we are learning a different topic, but much more smaller focused group. As well as periodic forums. So we could have a brown bag lunch series, for example. And so this framework will evolve. And again, I just wanted to reiterate that we are basing the needs of the community and who engages in this and feedback. So we very much want to create and shape this as it continues on, based on feedback. And we want this to be very useful and helpful. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we're going to do a little poll here. I did say that we wanted to introduce ourselves. So Jenna's going to drop a poll where if all of you could take the time to just answer, and it will give us an opportunity to see our audience and their organizations and where they're from.
Scratch that. It's telling me that I'm logged in from another device, which is untrue.
That's okay.
Just checked it. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right.
I will work on that when folks are in breakout groups. How about that?
That's okay. That's okay. Well, that was my next one. So we can save time on that, and we can actually take a few longer for our breakout sessions. So with that being said, we're going to we have a large group, so we're going to break everyone up into breakout groups. And there you can introduce yourselves, your affiliation, and essentially kind of what brought you here today and what you hope to gain from participating in the learning network. And our hope is, I think now for timing, Jen, about 10 minutes.
Yes, we're going to do 10 minutes. We're going to have about 5 people in each room. So in the spirit of getting to know each other and networking and all that good stuff, we heard that this would be valuable. So you're about 5 people. So, make sure everybody gets a couple minutes to share. And yes, we will. Any questions before we throw you into a group?
I just put the prompts in.
Oops.
I just put the prompts in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize. My timing got mixed up, so I am in the car on my way to the office where I will be in 13 minutes. But if someone can just help me out, since I'm in the car and I want to drive safely, I need help with that. So I'm going to unmute myself now. I don't know what group I'll be broken into, but I hope it'll work.
No worries. We will figure this out. All right, I'm going to open up the groups. I will send you a broadcast message halfway through to let you know that when you have about 5 minutes left. So enjoy meeting others.
Thank you, Jen.
Hi, folks. Are you not seeing where to join? See, some folks maybe need assigning. I'm working on that. Richard, did you get kicked out? Oh. Wow, people are bouncing all over the place. Did you get bounced, Katie? Katie, I'll put you.
No, I'm sorry, I just joined.
That's okay. I'm gonna put you in a room right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Meredith. I'm gonna put you in a room to meet others.
Good, thank you, sorry.
No, no problem.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Oh,
Would you like to join?
yeah, hi, I'm just gonna throw you in a group and you can just introduce yourself really quick.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Tina, are you getting booted out?
Yeah, no, I just switched from my phone. I just wanted to.
Oh,
It's
okay.
easier. Apologies. I thought I put this in my calendar. I'm like, so I couldn't, somebody else sent me the invite, so I couldn't search it to figure it out.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just put you in a room just so you can listen for the last couple of minutes.
Okay, thanks.
I guess we gave you all enough time if the people are coming back a few seconds early. Is that true?
Yeah, I hit the leave room by accident when I was talking.
I do that all the time.
Sorry,
and
Pam.
Other people do it too. And I keep thinking, why doesn't Zoom fix that? I don't know. All right. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you had an opportunity to meet some new people, maybe. If you could go ahead and put yourselves on mute if you're not speaking, that would be great. Just so we don't have any background noise. Excellent. So yes, there are a lot of people, and I wish we had more time so we could do several rounds of this, but I wanted to give you at least a couple minutes to meet some new folks. So now we are going to transition to meeting. Many of you probably already know her. Kim Coriath. Kim, where are you on my screen? There's so many people on my screen now. I need to pin you. How do I
I'm buried somewhere in here. Maybe if I talk, I'll pop to the
You'll
front.
come up. All right. Oh, there you are. I'm going to see if I can pin you. Okay. Oh, awesome. I can see you anyway. Big. Welcome, Kim. So we thought that Kim would be a good draw for everyone on this network launch. So many of you may know that Kim Coriath is the new. I don't know if you're. I mean, when do you stop being new, Kim? I don't know. It's only been a few months. I think.
don't know.
Right? Only been a few months.
Yeah, it's been a few months.
Yeah, but Kim, I'm gonna let her further introduce herself, but Kim Coriath is the state's new Chief Resilience Officer, which is very exciting. And so we thought that we would have her on to just kind of say hi and talk a little bit about, Kim, I'm just gonna let you go right into it. Introduce yourself, and then maybe you could just give us sort of a high-level outline of just your view of climate resilience in Rhode Island. Like, how are things looking? What's the state working on? And how is the state working with or considering municipal needs when it comes to climate resilience?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me here and for the wonderful introduction. Again, Kim Coriath, Chief Resilience Officer here for the state. And I'm previously coming to you all from Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. I know many of you likely know me from my previous role there. I was working significantly on the Municipal Resilience Program, working closely with cities and towns on prioritizing resilience actions, finding funding for resilience actions, these sorts of things. And some of that work will be continuing into my current role. I can kind of get into that as we go, but yeah, I started over here at DEM where the position is housed in January, and I've been going for a couple months. We've had some exciting initiatives that have been kind of rolling forward. But honestly, I think big picture, there are a number of different resilience efforts going on statewide currently. There's resilience efforts across our EC4 state agencies, in our nonprofit organizations, our academic institutions, locally at the municipal level and the community level as well. And ultimately, I think a lot of the work right now is about one, like how do we elevate a lot of the local resilience needs? We spent the past couple of years doing many of these municipal resilience program workshops. We've identified over 1,600 needed local resilience actions to date, which is kind of crazy. There's a lot of work to do. So how do we get funding behind those? How do we get a policy that's needed behind those? Any sort of resources that are needed to move those forward. Secondly, I think boosting the coordination statewide. As I mentioned, there's a ton of different efforts going on across our agencies or nonprofit organizations. How do we make sure that we're streamlined, we're working in the same direction, we're supporting one another? And a lot of this is first and foremost about kind of boosting, highlighting the resources that are available currently in the resilience area. So I've been having a lot of conversations across our state agencies to see, what kind of funding sources do they have that kind of intersect with resilience? What kind of technical assistance resources do they have? And how can we work to get those circulated? Which kind of leads us to the third main component that we've been focusing on is a boost in transparency and accessibility of information. I think over the past couple of years, we've gathered a lot of resilience information. I mentioned those 1,600 plus resilience actions. I mentioned these different resources that are kind of available statewide, but how do we make this all much more public, much more accessible, kind of have one hub that people can go to and find everything they need when they're looking to implement a resilience project or get one off the ground. So those are kinds of the things we're focusing on. And there's a few different objectives within that I can kind of touch upon, whether it's our state resilience planning effort with Resilient Rhody, building on the municipal resilience program, working on things like our state resilience policy or standards, or boosting our federal funding for resilience that we're pulling into the state. But that's kind of the high level.
That's excellent. Thank you, Kim. So folks, feel free to, if you have questions for Kim, put them in the chat. We can't guarantee we'll get to all of them, but we will do our best. I'm just going to ask one, maybe two more questions based on things I've heard a lot from folks, and then we'll look in the chat to see what we can answer for you all. So you mentioned a lot, Kim, all of the municipal actions, boosting statewide coordination, and just having a better idea of what funding is available, what technical assistance is available. And then you also mentioned Resilient Rhody and MRP, two programs that I kind of wanted to touch on. And So it's kind of a two-part question. Maybe what's the update on Resilience Rhody? And I know there's an MRP, Municipal Resilience Program 2.0 coming up. So how do those, any further comments on those, and how do those relate? Are they still two different things?
Yeah.
Are they kind of combined? Like going forward, what does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Resilient Rhody, as we know, was released back in 2018, and there's been a bit of follow-up from that. In 2021, we released an impact report that kind of said, this is where we've gotten to date, this is what's been accomplished, and that's available online, both on the Infrastructure Bank's website and on the climatechange.ri.gov website as well. But yeah, there's been a lot of thought put towards what does the next iteration of this look like? Where do we go from here? And I think it's very much agreed that there's a need for an update. You know, that this is something that we want to keep as a live document rolling forward. And we've started to have some thought of what new information might we want to include in that new structure. You know, particularly, I've mentioned a lot of, we're kind of sitting on a lot of information that's come from local municipalities in terms of resilience needs. How do we incorporate that into this larger statewide outlook? Given that a lot of those workshops and those reports came after the initial Resilient Rhody. So how do we work back into that structure and make sure that these priorities are kind of brought into that process? And I see this, you know, while we're still kind of finalizing timeline, I see this being a little bit two stage, if that makes sense. One, there probably being a shorter term Resilient Rhody update that, you know, looks a little bit towards that new structure. What new segments might we want to incorporate into the report, and like how do we do so essentially, and working to kind of bring together stakeholders to see what might be the right structure moving forwards. Of course, building off of what we currently have. And then I think a second kind of iteration of this, or a second fuller update from that, would be actually delving into much broader stakeholder outreach and doing a new gathering of data across the board, or new gathering of priorities across the board, to see what new actions we might need to implement. And again, that's kind of circling back to we're just sitting on a lot of information right now that we need to kind of get out there, get accessible. So how can we do that in kind of short order, but then also kind of give the full update process the respect and time that it deserves, if that makes sense. So that's kind of on the Resilient Rhody front. But ultimately, Resilient Rhody, it's the statewide plan. It's kind of that broader outlook. The Municipal Resilience Program 2.0, that's where we can really narrow into the local municipal level, find out what our very specific resilience needs and actions are. And we've been considering a lot in that MRP 2.0 structuring process. First and foremost, I think the biggest thing is, you know, how do we kind of leverage some of the new capacity at DEM and some of the new resilient statewide capacity to build upon that effort? So how that's going to kind of look is, traditionally the Municipal Resilience Program has been the true partnership between the Infrastructure Bank and the Nature Conservancy. And as that continues forward, essentially DEM would be brought in as like a third true partner to that process, mainly leading on the technical assistance component. So we've talked a lot in the history of that program of having the workshop component, which the Nature Conservancy has led, the action grant component, which the Infrastructure Bank has led. And we've kind of had this third growing technical assistance component over the past couple of years, but have needed additional capacity to get that off and running. And I think this is where kind of DEM comes into the mix, being able to you know, keep in touch with the towns on needed resilience updates, new resilience priorities, helping with that grant writing assistance, helping with design and engineering assistance. I see it as like the connective tissue of the program, if that makes sense, which I think aligns very well with a lot of the CRO initiatives too. So that is where that's heading. And in fact, we actually had, I'm babbling on and on at this point, but we had a recent presentation at the League of Cities and Towns that kind of provided a little bit of an overview, a light overview of the 2.0 process. And we do have a survey, like a feedback link that's kind of currently open on that process. So I might pop that in the chat here too, but it does provide an overview of some of the different elements of MRP 2.0. And gives an opportunity for folks to provide feedback, which we would love to hear.
Excellent. Thanks, Kim. And yes, we will, folks, be following up with some, we have your emails now, so we could follow up with the recording and some resources that folks are mentioning. So thank you for that, Kim. And we're doing well on time, so if it's okay, I'm just going to take some of the questions. There's nothing too wild in here. But you, Steph
Don't
asked,
at me, it's okay.
I know you can handle pretty much everything. Will Rhode Island be creating an improved website to share all the work products from MRP, including plans, maps of actions, etc.? And I know some of that is already up online, and I know there's like Climate Change Rhode Island, RI.gov or whatever. So maybe just a little bit more on what you see that hub looking like, if you know at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. So so there's a couple of different ideas in play for this. Mainly, we're looking to build this out on the climatechange.ri.gov website. We kind of have a brief resilience section in there currently on Resilient Roadie, but I'm looking to kind of build that out. And one thing we would really like to have on there is a searchable database of some of the MRP actions, really so that like our municipalities can work together to essentially like be able to search by green infrastructure projects or search by whatever type of priority they're looking to essentially search for, and which would basically allow for people to do more regional applications or work together more on some of these initiatives. And this might be kind of rolled out a little bit stepwise. We do hope to have another round of like resilience updates with the municipalities to make sure that we're like aligned on this information, everything looks correct. We've kind of tried to go through, and this is with huge help of Pam and Thais and everyone from over at URI, kind of doing some analysis of the MRP information, which you saw in some of the earlier slides. So, we want to make sure that like everything's looking good on that front, and that we can kind of use that to make this a little bit more searchable. So that's one thought. And there's been some discussion of mapping of completed projects as well. We're currently kind of in conversation of whether that's something that will be kind of built out through the infrastructure bank or will be built out on the DEM ends, but it has been a point of conversation. So that we're also looking into, can we have the different resilience resources available at the different EC4 state agencies, upcoming funding sources, essentially analysis of the MRP actions, again, in partnership with URI, CRC. So there's a number of different resources we're hoping to loop into this, but the short answer is yes.
Excellent. No, that's going to be great to have something searchable. So yeah, that's very much in line with what we're trying to do with the network, is link people together on these projects. Excellent. And just ask, can you give an example of a resilient action? And is there a list of these 1,600 actions available for review? And you talked about that. All of this is going to be searchable eventually. But maybe just for folks' sakes, I know that they range from planning to, on the ground actions. But Kim, maybe you could give a couple examples.
Yeah.
Resilient actions.
Yeah, I would say they span a number of different categories and a number of different scales, if that makes sense. So you might have everything from a very early stage planning action, like identify sites for green infrastructure across the municipality, a little bit broader, but still within a particular realm of work, to very specifically like construct a bioretention basin alongside this particular intersection or something like that. I know that this is a little bit broad, but without getting into this, the municipality's specific actions, that's kind of the difference in scales that you see. And also there's a wide variety of project types. They can span from needing emergency management related equipment to wanting to install new systems of communication to solar plus battery backup. It can be marsh restoration, wetland restoration. There's a wide variety of different project types we see, and it varies per town.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm just kind of picking a little bit here and there. And is there any coordination with your office, Kim, that your position, your coordinate with the General Assembly, like bills being introduced? Do you get into that at all, or what's that?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's been a key part of this role as well. And I've had some conversations both on the House and the Senate side. I've been keeping tabs on some of the bills that are kind of up and coming there. So if there's anything, I'd say just like please across the board, feel free to reach out to me if there's any questions or concerns that you have on any of these things. Some of them I'm more involved in than others, depending on how directly they interact with resilience or with my role in particular. But again, the short answer is yes.
Excellent. And yeah, there's a comment. And I don't know how much you can weigh in on this, but it seems like Rhode Island generally relies on federal funding to sustain almost all of its resilience planning. And and I don't know if you can comment on this, Kim, but I'll just say are you thinking that the state budget might start appropriating funds, given that there's finite time periods for some of this fire hose of federal funding ending in 5 years or so. Just any thoughts you have on state appropriations for resilience?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, I can't necessarily speak completely broadly to the state, but I think I can say I think it would be something that would be extremely beneficial. In some respects agree. I think that the state has done a lot in terms of funding for state funding for grant programs for resilience, whether it's the MRP action grants, the new Oscar funds, the climate resilience fund. I think there's a lot of kind of pots of funding available that have really served us well, and we've been able to leverage to go after further federal funds or kind of like spread some of that funding further, extend some of that funding further, if that makes sense. But I think it's always helpful when there's state dedicated funding for some of these efforts, and some of our partner states like Massachusetts have already gone well in that direction. So I would hope that Rhode Island would move in that direction too.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of other questions here. And so I will just say, Pam and Thais, anything that I forgot that would you like to ask Kim before we let her go?
No, Kim, I know you are very busy, but if you did want to stay on and partake in the rest, you can. But I understand you climate change to fight, so I'm okay on my end.
All sounds good. I'm planning on staying put and being here the whole time. I will say I've been very, very excited about this initiative. I love the idea of having this kind of municipal to municipal point of contact. I think it's super, super needed. And I'll just follow up I'll pop the link in the chat for that kind of like MRP 2.0 feedback. But I think I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was going to mention. There's a couple of additional elements to that, whether it's like I've talked a bit in other forums about kind of regional resilience coordinators, other things that we want to grow out as a part of some of this programming. But all of that is to say, if you have any questions or you want to follow up on that, please let me know by email, phone. I'm here.
Thank you.
Kim. I did see there was one. Katie asked, will the network meet with regularly? I'm not sure. I might need more information, Katie, but if the question is, will the network meet regularly? We're thinking yes. Will the network meet regularly with Kim? Hopefully yes, too. I know she's very, very busy, but she's been wonderful at giving her time thus far to us to bring you the latest. So that, yes, Kim, we very much look forward to continuing to work with you. So thank you so much for everything and your time. And,
absolutely. And I would love that, by the way. Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Thanks, Kim. And I guess I could unpin you if there we go. I could remove pin. And yeah, Tina, thanks for putting some info in the chat. Tina put in a House bill that would create a resilience plan. So that's great. Great info. So we're doing well on time, but Pam, I'm gonna hand it over to you so that you can get into our next section about what might look like going forward. And you should have sharing privileges. Is that true? You're on mute, just FYI.
Okay, so sorry, slideshow. Okay, share.
And folks, while Pam's doing that, there are a lot of us online, but the chat seems to be working well for our questions. So if questions or comments come up as you're hearing what Pam has to present, please feel free to put it in the chat and we could do just what we did and try to address some of your questions. We're also going to be following up with a survey to get more information from you. So there'll be lots of opportunities. Okay, Pam.
Great. Well, thank you. And I believe, in following up with Kim's thoughts, it's very exciting for our team to be able to work with Kim and her emerging program. And so we see that the network is very much tied to the resilience program. We would envision it tied to the resilience program in the state. And so I think that, so as we see here, as Thais pointed out, there are a lot of different engagement opportunities. And on this Zoom today, we recognize that there's a lot of people. Many of you work in municipalities, some of you volunteer in municipalities, or some might be elected or appointed in municipalities or state or federal entities. And so we also recognize that there's a lot of different resource agencies on this call. And we did that on purpose to just kind of spread the net quite wide so that we could see how we might be able to support each other through this. So as we pointed out, we're going to be looking at larger learning sessions, different study groups, periodic forums, field trips, trying to have potentially peer-to-peer exchanges. Our foundational group was speaking about, well, can we have a field trip and bring some people from one municipality to another so that they could really see in person what's going on. So all of these things are feasible. And at this point, the specifics will be grown from you, and we'll be reaching to you for more thoughts. And as Jen pointed out, but I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to share that in June, so looking at some of the upcoming opportunities, actually this summer, stay tuned for the Roger Williams University Marine Affairs Institute and Rhode Island Sea Grant Legal Program will be having a workshop in the early summer related to municipal resilience and legal liability policy issues. So we've heard from our foundational group, we've heard from a lot of you in the past year and a half that some of these issues are really in need of additional capacity building and exchange. So we're taking that, and that's really going to be a larger workshop focused on that. But I also wanted to just share with you, and some of these questions came out in the Q&A. So when we speak about what are some of the actions, so this data I'm just sharing with you, this comes out of the municipal resilience programs, and a shout out to our graduated student, Alex Poulet, who helped to develop this in partnership with Kim and her team and TNC. So these are some of the recommended actions that came out of these municipal resilience plans. So when we start to think about if we're going to be having larger forums, or if we or if we're going to have field visits, or if we're going to have working groups, some of these kinds of topics might be those that we and I'm looking at the 125 of us want to use as our source of opportunities to exchange and have peer interchange. So you could see here, these are the recommended actions from the 1,000 that Kim spoke about. Emergency management and preparedness is a big one, both inland and coastal. Stormwater management continues to be one of the biggest challenges. General climate resilience. So speaking to that person who said, what kind of actions are we really talking about? So these are some things for all of us to think about. This was interesting, just looking at, so in these plans, the municipalities identified high, moderate, low. And so you could start to see what some of these really distinct actions are that they would like to take. They are not saying exactly what they are in this slide, but this is how we categorize them. So you could see that flood reduction is key, wastewater issues and climate, really important. So coastal stabilization, dunes and beaches, for those of you who have coastal shorelines, electric utilities. So it's this information that we help draw from, and some of this information is what Kim will be able to share and be transparent about as well, as she spoke about that. So in the survey that you will be getting, we will be asking you all, which climate resilience topics are you most interested in learning about and discussing with your peers? So we've pulled some of the topics from this to do that. So I'm just looking at time. As we work with this, we would hope that either our foundational group will continue with us, or that we may pull additional people for a working group or steering committee to help identify some of the next steps for this learning network. We have learned from others, including the national network that Jen West and some of her colleagues that are here. Maybe some of you were on that webinar last month about inundation. And this is where we really feel that this is peers building it for themselves, as opposed to us telling you exactly what needs to happen. So we will facilitate that. We'll give some guidance. We'll give some options and support that, but we really need to hear from you. And so, as I pointed out, some of the upcoming opportunities will be decided after this meeting. We'll be discussing what that framework looks like. As Thais pointed out, what is a mix after we get some feedback from you? Which direction do we want to go, and how do we mix that up with the with some of the topics that you've mentioned? I don't have anything, Jen, Thais, anything else, or should we take a few more questions if we have some time?
Yes, that was great. Thank you, Pam. Yeah, you could probably stop sharing unless we have anything else slide-wise. Thank you. That's excellent. I'm just looking to see, we don't really have too many, we don't have any questions yet. We do have a couple comments. Thank you, Becca, for your interest, and Judy's in to continue as our foundational member, so that's exciting. Yes, so I will open up. We're doing shockingly well on time. I'm like really surprised. So maybe there weren't as many questions so far. But what I am going to do, and thank you, Steph, so she said she would like to help as well. I will open it up. I know we have a lot of people, but it seems like there's not a ton of questions. So we could probably just open it up if you'd like to raise your hand or come off mute, just to tell us, if you have any thoughts, if this has triggered any questions or thoughts. I will also right now put a survey link in the chat, because that is where we're asking you for more information. And so since we may even be ending a little early, if you could go ahead and click on that, and it'll take you to a new window so you can start it soon. But that's where it will really help us to see how you'd like to stay involved. And if you think you might just attend whatever you can, or if you'd like to be more heavily involved, study groups, just attend forums, get technical assistance, that kind of stuff. We also ask about topics, topical things like, are you more interested in stormwater, emergency management, etc. So that would be really helpful to hear from you all on that one. So would anyone like to come off mute and share anything?
See that Stephanie raised her hand from Blackstone.
Oh, yeah. Stephanie, go ahead, please.
No, I keep talking. I'm happy to be engaged. And I was just wondering if there was a particular network you really liked how it ran as an example of what you wanted this to look like.
So great question. We're kind of keeping tuned in, and I'll open it up to anyone else if you have the experiences with this type of thing, learning networks or community of practice. So as Pam mentioned, I am on there's a national level, like a NOAA National Sea Grant, a NOAA Office for Coastal Management, and American Society for Adaptation Professionals national level community of practice, which I was thinking, wow, national level, that's huge. Do community of practices and learning networks, like how much can you get into at that national level? So we're still learning a lot. We just had our launch. And so we're kind of modeling the same things, the things that we're finding we like and are working well, which is having a foundational group help us. They just, they did the launch about a month or so ago, and we pulled what we thought worked for that. And so we're learning as we go and taking the things we like from other networks. Thais, Pam, do you have anything to add to that, or anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in that our colleagues here at Rhode Island Sea Grant and Coastal Resources Center have a community of practice. It's not as broad a group of people, but it's with other Sea Grant programs on offshore wind energy. And they have found it really helpful to have just the different kinds of offerings. And one of the lessons that they told us after they've been doing this a year and a half or so, and they said, don't over script it at the beginning. And so, really get the feel of what the people want and what the community really wants to make of itself, so that people will participate. But the diversity of different kinds of experiences was also one of their recommendations. So we're listening, we're participating, and we're eager to work with you all to do that.
Yes, and I see Katie's hand and Julie's hand. I just want to point out in the chat, yes, there's other, thank you. Please feel free to let us know about other networks. Yes, RIFMA, near and dear to my heart, Rhode Island Flood Mitigation Association. I was involved with a long time. Yes, they're great. Their event is in May. What is that date? They'll put it, but there's a link right there. Conference registration. So a great opportunity. So we want to think about too how to leverage other networks and leverage other opportunities. Maybe we could do a little learning network gathering at an opportunity. So and SNEP, excellent. So Katie and then Julia. Katie, go ahead, please.
Great. Thanks, folks. Hi, Dr. Katie Allis. I'm the South County Coastkeeper with Save the Bay. Good to see a lot of folks that I know on this call and some new faces and names. Excited to get involved. I'd be happy to be included in any kind of leadership or coordinating. I wanted to flag, so a few years ago, some colleagues and I founded the Northeast Climate Resilient Fisheries Network. So it's like tangentially related, but has a lot of similar goals as a space for more so for like researchers, academics, and natural resource managers to come together in the climate resilient fisheries space. But we just hold like virtual meetings every couple of months. Now it's gone down to quarterly, and it's just a virtual space to meet and greet. But we did come up with a recent paper with some recommendations about how best to navigate concepts of social ecological resilience in marine fisheries under climate change. So I'm going to share the website for the network and the paper, and I'd be happy to, I don't know, just provide like tips and tricks for how that's worked, or just connect these groups together, or maybe see if there's a way to collaborate, any kind of things like that. Really interested in that. So thank you.
No, that's great, Katie. Keep it coming. Yes, Julia, and then Wenley. Yes, Julia, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everybody. Julia Wyman with the Marine Affairs Institute at Roger Williams University School of Law and the Rhode Island Sea Grant Legal Program. Pam mentioned that we're going to have a legal policy workshop in June. That'll be on June 28th. So mark your calendars first. But second, if anybody's interested in sort of participating in planning for that workshop, we are going to be focusing on managed retreat and sort of successful examples of managed retreat from other places that potentially will have relevance here in Rhode Island. So feel free to shoot me an email if you'd like to be involved in some of those conversations. I'll put my email in the chat. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks, Julia. Yes, we're excited for that. And folks, by the way, now that you registered for this, we do have your email. So we will follow up with all of this. And we're thinking about, do we create a listserv? We're working all that out, but know that we will follow up with you with all this information. And then you can always say enough already if you decide you don't want it all. Wenley, please go ahead.
One thing I was thinking of, especially with all these storms that we've just experienced, both inland flooding and coastal flooding and erosion this winter, is using this forum as well. There's so many projects that municipalities and partners have worked on over the last decade, and how are they working, lessons learned. And we've done that in the past. I think this could be a great opportunity to just because a project has been quote unquote completed, this adaptation and work on the ground, making our communities more resilient, is going to require constant adaptive management or regular adaptive management. So that could be something in the future to share some case studies, lessons learned, what's worked, what hasn't.
Excellent. Thanks, Wenley. All right, well, we're at 3:57. I'm going to open it up to Thais and Pam and any other Sea Grant folks, any foundational group members, any last words. And then I'm also going to put the Survey Monkey link in there again, because really, really important for us to know what you think and what you'd like going forward. That's going to be really helpful. And I did see somebody asked, can we share attendees, like a listserv? Yes, we'll get back to you. I'm not sure. I need to check in with you all about how much you want your information shared with others, but we will definitely follow up with you, at least with a BCC to start with, and we will ask you about that. Pam and Thais, or anyone else, any last comments?
No, I wanted to reiterate the survey, because again, we want this very much to be something that is of use to you. Obviously, there are a lot of learning networks out there in smaller groups, and we're hoping with this one, try to streamline those. Obviously, we want involvement in other groups, but we really want this to be a place where you can go to and be a really good resource to all of you. So please fill out the survey. It helps inform us and make this really something that you all want, and hopefully we're a one-stop shop.
Great job, everybody.
Thanks.
Judy.
Look at, I guess we're letting you out 2 minutes early, which means you have 2 more minutes to do that survey. That's what you're going to be working on right when you depart from us, right?
That's correct.
Oh,
thanks,
excellent.
guys. This is really cool.
That's excellent. Thank you
Keep
so
going.
much, everyone. Thank you very much for attending. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Dave had a good point, good question, and we are aware of that as well, Dave.